Good day, Sir Vidalus. My name is Ryan Celestino, and today I'm going to demonstrate to you on how to make an improvised polygraph machine using the indigenous material. So let's get started. So the materials needed are, first, number one is the empty box of carton. Empty box of carton, the electrical PVC tube, 5 meters tie box, the improvised rubber ball, 1 pendant pen, 1 scissor, 2 pieces of clip, 1 pencil, scotch tape, white cartolina, then 3 pieces of nails, 4 inches in size, and the textile. That one is the push pin. So this is the push pin. The first activity is all about the familiarization of the basic function of the major components of the polygraph instrument. Step 1. Cover the empty box with white cartolina. Then draw a portraying pen on the box using the pen. We're done with the step 1. So now let's go to the step 2. Step 2. Get at least 2 pieces of electrical PVC tube 12 inches in size and 2 pieces of crocodile teeth. Step 3. Tie the 2 pieces of tie box on embedded form. Step 4. Connect the tie box to the electrical PVC tube. Step 5. We are going to stitch our 4x12 tela as our improvised arm cap. Then connect the tip of the tie box to the rubber ball and to the textile. Then we're going to connect the tip of the tie box to the nail. So now I'm going to discuss the function of each components. So the first one is the pneumograph components. We have pneumograph 1 and pneumograph 2. The pneumograph 1 is the thoracic pneumograph and attached to the thoracic part of the body to record the respiratory activity of the subject. Like this. And the second one is the abdominal pneumograph, which is attached to the abdomen of the subject to record the breathing of the subject. So the second component is the galvanograph component. The galvanograph component, its function is to record the amount of perspiration produced. So we have our finger electrodes. The first is, this one is to connect the index finger, and the second one is to connect into the ring finger of the subject. Function is to measure the skin protectant and sweat activity of the subject. One is the cardiostemograph component, which is attached to the upper arm of the subject, like this. Its function is to make sure the cardiovascular of the subject, such as the blood pressure and the heartbeat of the subject. And this is the pump valve, which is the improvised rubber bolt. This is our pump valve. So this time around, I'm going to discuss the polygraph chart. So the first and second line here is the respiration. The third line is the galvanic skin resistance, and the fourth line is the cardio activity, and the last one is the activity sensor. We are going to conduct an investigation to the subject. We must bear in our mind that we have to inform the constitutional rights, our human rights. Because as a human, we have our rights. We can violate the law, the fundamental law of the state. And secondly, we have to ask permission to the person being investigated. That activity, sir, I have learned a lot, and I knew how to preserve our indigenous materials like this. I preserve our indigenous materials by making the improvised polygraph machine. We are done with activity number 1, so now let's proceed to activity number 2, which is the simulation on polygraph examination. In this activity, we are going to discuss the procedures on how to conduct a test or investigation to a subject. And after that, we are going also to discuss the simulation on polygraph instrument. As an examiner, we should follow the basic procedures in polygraph examination before we are going to conduct a test. So the number 1 procedure is appraisal of basic constitutional rights of the person. We are going to discuss the basic constitutional rights to the person. The number 2, ask permission to the subject before conducting a test. Before we're going to conduct a test, we're going to ask permission to the subject. And the number 3, we're going to get the personal information of the subject. We're going to get the personal data of the subject. Number 4, ask to the subject if he or she is willing to undergo or to be tested. Then number 5, inform the subject of his involvement with the case. Step 1, appraisal of basic constitutional rights of the person. Good morning. So, this time, I'm going to discuss to you the constitutional rights, your rights. So, we have Republic Act number 7438 and an act defining certain rights of the person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation, as well as the duties of the arresting, detaining, and investigating officers, and providing penalties for violations thereof. So, in section 2, rights of person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation, duties of public officers. So, in section 2, paragraph B, any public officer or employee or anyone acting under his order or his place who arrests, detains, or investigates any person for the commission of an offense shall inform the latter in a language known to and understood by him of his rights to remain silent. So you have the right to remain silent and to have competent and independent counsel. So you have the right to have a competent and independent counsel. So the next one is preferably of his own choice. So you have your own choice to choose your counsel, independent counsel, to defend your case. Who shall at all times be allowed to confer privately with a person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation. If such person cannot afford the services of his own counsel, he must be provided with a competent and independent counsel by the investigating officer. So if you can't afford to have your own counsel, so provided with a competent and independent counsel. If such person cannot afford the services of his counsel, he must provide it with a competent and independent counsel by investigating officer. So if you can't afford your counsel, so I'm going to provide you the lawyer to defend your case. In paragraph C, remember this paragraph. Any extrajudicial confession made by a person arrested, detained, or under custodial investigation shall be in writing and signed by such person in the presence of his counsel or his latter's absence upon a valid waiver, and in the presence of any of the parents, elder brothers and sisters, his spouse, the municipal mayor, the municipal judge, district school supervisor, or priest or minister of the gospel chosen by him. Otherwise, such extrajudicial confession shall be admissible as evidence in any proceedings. Step 2. Ask permission from the subject before conducting a test. I,
Crisostomo Ibarra,
declare that I submit myself voluntarily to a polygraph examination. No threats, force, coercion, or promise about immunity or reward were used to get me agree to take this test. I understand that certain sensors must be attached on my body during this test and agree thereto. I am aware and hereby give permission that the oral and written results of this examination may be available to and become part of my permanent record book. Please sign this form as evidence that you voluntarily admit yourself to be tested. Now we are going to conduct the test for the subject, but before that, we have to check first if our improvised polygraph machine is in a good condition. Okay. Good. So now let's start with our test, which is the attachment and function of major components of the pneumograph. So the first one is the pneumograph components. So we're going to attach the pneumograph one to the thoracic part. Hold your hands up. Thoracic part. So the function of this component is to record the heartbeat of the subject. Okay. So the pneumo one is the thoracic pneumograph, which is to record the heartbeat of the subject. Then the pneumograph 2 is the abdominal pneumograph, which is to record the heartbeat of the breathing of the subject. Improvised finger electrodes, and it is simply attached to the index and ring finger of the subject. Like this. Third component is the cardiostimograph component. The function of this component is to record the cardio activity of the subject, and it is simply attached to the upper arm of the subject, like this. So after performing the test, we are going to ask questions to the subject, which is answerable by yes or no. So shall we go? Number 1 question. Are you Chrysostomo Ibarra?
Yes.
today Monday?
No.
Are you left-handed?
Yes.
Are you 40 years old?
No.
Have you committed a crime of murder?
No.
Since at the age of 15, have you been experiencing any relationship?
No.
Have you been convicted of a crime?
No.
Have you stolen money from your neighborhood?
No.
In the last 5 years, have you stolen money from the gasoline station?
No.
Since birth, have you stolen money?
Yes.
Did you kill Maria Clara?
No.
Do you love her?
Yes.
Did you ever go to school?
Yes.
Did you ever steal anything from a place where you work?
No.
Last question. Are you telling the truth in this investigation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your cooperation. So now, sir, I'm going to answer the questions in Activity 1 and Activity 2. Activity 1 and Activity 2 have the same questions, so I'm going to answer it in general. So question number 1. Discuss the things that you have experienced during the experiment or activity. So my answer is, during experiment or activity, I experienced a lot of struggles, particularly in making the polygraph machine and in the simulation on polygraph examination, because it was not easy for me to simulate the video in actual, and that was my biggest struggle. So question number 2, do you think that this activity is considerable to the academy, particularly in this present pandemic situation? For me, yes, absolutely yes. It is considerable to the academy because we gain knowledge and lessons from it, specifically on how to make an improvised polygraph machine and simulation on examination. Though we don't have a face-to-face classes due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you, sir, as our professor, you makes initiatives to make it as considerable to the academy. Question number 3. Is this activity can be applied the time that we will go back in normal life? For me, no. Because there are available machines and instruments which is more useful than improvise. Thank you. That's all, sir. Thank you.